Hydro, our partners and friends. We also have a student joining us as well, and we'll give them a moment to introduce themselves so you know who's at the front. The way we'd like to work this is try and be as interactive as possible. I do have some questions and we'll get them started, but please raise your hand. We do have another mic and a couple mics we can throw around. You can probably, if you're in the back, you can probably just shout loudly. This room's actually pretty good for that. Just before we get started, for two reasons. One is just in case we have an emergency, and the second is because there's a lot of us in here. There's an exit door to my left, so both sides of the front of the room, the blackboard, there's exits, and there's also exit doors down those wings of the auditorium that go directly outside. Okay, and we'll certainly, let's hope we don't have to evacuate, but just in case we do, so everyone's aware of where we're heading. My name is Kevin Weaver, and I'm Vice President of International Workforce Development and Partnerships. Formerly, prior to August 1st of this year, I was the Dean for Technology and Visual Arts. So have been involved with our Toronto Hydro partnership for almost 3 years now, and thrilled to have the panel that we do to help us understand the opportunity at Toronto Hydro, a little bit about the culture and the organization, and then certainly you'll probably get a sense, if you don't already have that, of how we're working together. So I think what we'll do is we'll start off with some introductions. So the mics should be live, but I've got this one in my hand just in case. So Jody, do you want to start, please?
Okay, so hello everybody, good afternoon. My name is Jody Engel. I'm the Director of Organizational Development and Labor at Toronto Hydro. I've been with the organization for over 17 years. And one of my primary accountabilities is overseeing our trades and technical training area for the school.
Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Stolberg. I'm the Manager of Talent Management at Toronto Hydro. I have also been there for just over 17 years as well. And my primary accountability is to support our long and short-term staffing needs for the organization, including all of our full-time and student hiring.
Good afternoon, I'm Jeff Mills. I started off as an electrical engineering co-op student 32 plus years ago, graduated and started at Toronto Hydro. I've had, I think, somewhere around 11 or 12 different jobs there. I'm currently the Director of Stations and Distribution Automation, so a real advocate of these types of programs, and especially the co-op.
Hi there, I'm Mike Melisic. I'm the General Manager of Engineering, which covers engineering components, obviously, standards, investment planning, asset management, and also program delivery. So we get a lot of funding from the Ontario Energy Board to maintain our system as well as replace our assets. So one of the responsibilities is to ensure that that money gets spent prudently on the investment. Like Jeff, I've been there for over 25 years. I've had jobs in really all areas, and I started really probably 30 years ago working as a student in customer care at a small utility in the north. I've worked for a generating company up in Sault Ste. Marie, and now I'm sitting as the investment planning guy. So it's many jobs, many opportunities, and with Toronto Hydro, that's what you would get.
Good afternoon. My name is Jack Simpson. I'm the Director of Generation and Capacity Planning at Toronto Hydro. And I'm a young pup here. I've just got under 20 years of experience at Toronto Hydro. But like Mike, had some engineering consulting experience at private companies beforehand. So our focus in our group is really on transmission supply and transformer stations and the generator connections in Toronto. It's nice to be here with you today.
My name is Richard Cardenas. I'm a fourth semester electrical engineering technologist for a student here at Georgian College. I just completed my second co-op with Toronto Hydro over the summer there. I was in the customer offers and sustainment department where I worked on design drawings with that were customer driven, and really enjoyed myself for the summer. And I've been privileged to sit on the panel here today. Thank you.
Great, thank you all. Let's give our panel a round of applause. So we're very fortunate to have all these folks with us today from Toronto Hydro. So we'll start with I think will be an easy question. I did promise them I'll try and ask the easy ones, but I couldn't guarantee what questions you might ask. So just for whoever would like to jump in on this one, and perhaps you'll all piggyback off the answer, but why should students in terms of a co-op and then graduates in terms of employment want to work for Toronto Hydro? Anyone want to take that one to start?
I think, well, I'll start and then you guys can probably answer. I think Jeff alluded to one of our key themes is I think we have a lot of opportunities to try different career streams, places to work in terms of engineering design and construction. We also have some of our trades jobs, overhead and underground trades jobs, stations group, control room, meter mechanics, the list goes on. We also have other support functions in corporate areas and IT, and I know that some of our panel member has dabbled in those career jobs. So I think we offer a lot of developmental opportunities at Toronto Hydro. Over time, your career is what you can make it, and I think that's one of the attractive things. Your certificate here, your diploma from Georgian opens a lot of doors for you at Toronto Hydro. Gives you the opportunity to take on a number of different challenges throughout long and rewarding careers, as we can all attest to. I think we're also a really collaborative culture and results focused, so we strive for performance and innovation and things like that, and it's not just lip service. I think we actually have demonstrated those competencies each and every day and how we work together as a group, and I think this collaboration is a testament to some of those competencies. Good start? Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a couple other things too. I think it's a lot broader than just a lot of our technical programs and things. We have a lot of other things that go on in the utility, whether it's involvement in safety meetings, to get an idea of what a safety culture would be within an organization, because I think it's very important as a technical group. It's important to always have safety within your designs or the work that you do. We see students participate a lot in other events within the utility. That may be doing planning for United Way or other kinds of things that we do there as a community, because it's not just the work that you do. You do that work within a community, and I think it's important that you're involved in that aspect. And we see many students participate in many of those types of activities while they're either on co-op or other types of work sessions.
Not much more to say, I don't think. One aspect I don't think was covered completely. When you finish here, your learning's just starting. You have a good foundation and a good basis to start, but there's lots more to learn specific about the business and the industry. And Toronto Hydro is very, very strong on investing in their people and training them and helping them learn and develop, both in technical as well as the soft skills and behavioral skills. So that's another reason that the Toronto Hydro is a good employer. Whether you stay with Toronto Hydro in the long term or not, we hope you do. But if you don't, it certainly is a great foundation for launching a career.
Do you want to add to that from a co-op student perspective in what your experience was like in co-op?
And how it relates to...
And how it relates to what you're hearing, just in terms of opportunities and things you were exposed to?
The experience itself was good. The school gives you, like you said, the foundation or a basic introduction to a lot of the material within electrical and utility sector. And from my co-op experience, you get to see that full-fledged, and you kind of, it almost career focuses it a bit more rather than giving you a broad spectrum of things. You you kind of see what your options are. It kind of helps you visualize what direction you want to take things.
Okay, thank you. Great responses there.
Can I maybe add something?
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Cindy.
Do you want to do a moment?
No, something else, yeah.
Okay.
I think just to add to it, it's just the opportunity as well to work for, a very dynamic company located in a very vibrant city. So you have exposure working in Toronto to things that you may not necessarily see at other local distribution companies or even other utilities. So I think that opportunity in itself is worth the drive down the 400 to the 404.
Nice plug.
What a nice plug, yes, well said. Very good. So in terms of, we heard, Jennifer, you touched on some of the jobs. What does in terms of advancement opportunities, career progression, trying different things, can each of you just jump in a little bit on how that works and what that looks like?
So when an employee starts working with us, even a student at Toronto Hydro, there's actually a specific development plan that's designed for that particular employee. And in a co-op placement program, if the student comes back, they also get assigned to work in a different area. And that gives them an opportunity to get a breadth of experience and not just focus on one area and get that particular skill, thinking that's the only thing that they're going to learn. If you're working as an employee in the organization, and Jeff and Mike alluded to it, that they've rotated throughout their careers and worked in different areas of the organization and worked in different jobs of the organization. So the idea is really to ensure that you're broadening your experience and getting a range of opportunities. And as the industry changes, those are the things that you want to look at. You want to look to see is how are you continuously advancing yourself, whether you're staying or working in one organization or not, because there are tons of possibilities. And you need to always stay ahead to what somebody else is doing, particularly as industry changes and legislation requirements changes. So as you're developing yourselves, your leaders also helping to support you in those areas. So there's a very close tie between the leader and the employee to ensure that you're getting those work assignments and you're developing those skills hands-on at the same time that you're taking accountability as well as an employee in the organization.
So is this where you want to talk specifically?
Sure,
Okay.
No.
So specifically in terms of the requirements for entry to some of our roles, they include the overhead and underground trades, so our certified power line person, certified power cable person, and certified meter mechanic tester. And the minimum entry requirements are a 2-year electrical engineering technician diploma. And then with a 3-year electrical engineering technologist diploma, you'd be eligible for our distribution system technologist, so our stations trade that Jeff's team hires for, as well as our power system controller, which is our control room operators. Did I miss anything? The engineering technologist role is also open for those with a 3-year technologist diploma. Get them all?
That's good.
Okay, anything else to add? Okay. We'll do one more and then want to open it up. So if you have any questions or give you a few minutes to think of those, and then we'll come to the audience here. Can you describe the interview process? So specifically, what is Toronto Hydro looking for when hiring?
Do you want to start from the business side, or do you want me to start from the HR side?
I'll give maybe a little intro.
Okay.
So-
I don't want to do that one.
This isn't the official requirements for interview. We're going to have Jen do that in a minute. But as a hiring manager or director, I look for 2 basic things. The technical background, if you've had any work experience as well as your academic credentials. But I look as much or maybe more sometimes, depending on the role, what the person's like, how well they can interact with others. The smartest person in the world that can't work with others and work on a team to get it done isn't really the right place in most work situations, I find. So it's about the, I guess you might call it the behavioral type of things, that the soft skills, how you deal with conflict with people, how you collaborate with others. So those kinds of things are equally as important in the interview process that may not be something that's intuitive when you first come into the interview. You're thinking you want to show how much you know about what you learned in school, and you learn some things in school behavioral, but it's not sort of as formally obvious, I guess.
So as Jeff alluded to, our process not only assesses the technical requirements for the role, but also the behavioral requirements for the role, and that's at a number of stages depending on the role. Our trades roles are a little bit more comprehensive as they include some work testing, which I'll let Jody speak to in a little bit more detail. Some of our technical roles do include some cognitive testing as well as technical testing ahead of the interview. So we use these as an opportunity to screen candidates and assess candidates for some technical requirements for the role, and those are the minimum entry requirements. And then after those stages, you get through the behavioral interviews, and we'll assess competencies like collaboration and how you drive for results and how you take accountability for things, and how you work with others, how you deal with conflict. Those are some key areas for us, and of course, you know, what's your aptitude for safety and how have you demonstrated safety leadership? Those are some big things for us. And then after that would come more offer management and, you know, references and making sure you have your diplomas and you're not criminals and things like that.
I think one other aspect of the interview process is preparation. I think it's very important. I've been through a number of interviews where people are ill-prepared when they come to the interview itself. You know, so the way I look at it is, you know, you need to know something about the company, you need to know about yourself, and you need to know what your likes and dislikes are, such that you're able to express those well, because in an interview setting, we don't really know anything about you. So it's very important that in that preparation, you're thinking through what, you know, a utility is all about and what may be their you know, strategic, you know, ideas or their goals as a company, and you have to try to be able to relate that to what you can do in the position that you're going for, and I think that's, you know, one piece that many, probably maybe not in this room, but many overlook when they're going for an interview.
I think the other thing is, as part of the interview process, is to be prepared for simulations. So at our trade school, we actually mirror some exercises or tasks that we expect future employees to do. We have a training yard, and if you're applying for the overhead positions, the power line technician positions, you'll be required to do some practical exams and tests in the yard. There's also a underground cable chamber area where we do have simulated tasks associated with lead work and lifting of pieces of equipment. And one of the things that we keep in mind is the standards that are required in order to entry. So we do have our status with the Ministry of Training Colleges and Universities, where we're able to train our own apprentices and students associated with ministry standards. So when we're looking at those training standards, we're also looking at the requirements associated for what needs to be embedded within the recruitment process. And that's how we ensure the technical application is also included and brought in along the lines of the colleges.
Great, very good response. So you're getting some good insight into the process, and I heard lots of points of advice there too, so that's wonderful. Okay, students, so I know we sent an invite out far and wide, so we just want to get a sense of who's kind of in the room. How many from electrical programs? Yeah. How many from civil? I think we got some civil folks. Good. Mechanical? Any mechanical in the room? Over here. Excellent. Good for you. Any architectural? Any other eng tech programs? Business? Any business students? Okay. So, okay, we got a couple. So, you just a sense of who's in the room. Does anyone have any questions? Just maybe throw up your hand, and then we'll just get you to shout it out. Yeah,
Should we expect to see opportunities coming up at the end of this term, I guess, since a lot of people will be graduating, or should we expect to see it maybe next year?
so the question is, I'll just repeat
Timing.
it. for
Timing is
everybody.
everything.
Yeah.
Timing is everything. We've just completed a rather large campaign. I think we were up here in the summer, last summer, this sort of advertising some of our upcoming opportunities for the fall. So we've just completed that round. I would suggest we be looking to post roles, early next year, not in January, but the early part of next year for sort of our middle of the year intake. So that's sort of what I know right now. Not right away in December.
It's worth noting though, our demographics are such that we will always be needing good people, and there's quite a heavy requirement the next 5 to 10 years. So this state will continue. We've got to get good people in the door.
So basically, just check the website and see what you guys have up there.
Stay connected
Stay
with
tuned.
us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stay
Do
tuned.
you all follow us on LinkedIn? You should all follow us on LinkedIn. Our job opportunities get posted there regularly. You get alerts.
How many LinkedIn users? Who's on LinkedIn?
Wow.
Wow.
More of you should be on LinkedIn. Another tip for you to take away.
Another tip. So LinkedIn. We're not sponsored by them, but it's just a good thing to do. Yes.
Do you know when the scholarships are going to be handed out? And I know that if you receive a scholarship, there's you get a 4-month term. Are they looking to hire on for longer after that?
Do you want to tackle that one, Jody? Or Stephanie?
Come up to the awards and scholarships office and we'll sort out your questions. But the applications ended on October 30. Will end on October 31st to apply for awards and scholarships. So actually, everybody, you've got a couple of days to apply for awards and scholarships.
October 31st deadline.
October 31st is the deadline.
And then any specific information about that award, they can help you up with awards at the office. Good question. Oh, yeah.
Hi. So you said that LinkedIn is something that you want us to have, but in the interview process, is that something that you would actually check? If you got a resume and you thought, oh, this person might be interesting, in your background check, would you actually try to search for us on LinkedIn?
Good question. We do direct source candidates on LinkedIn, so we, in the old days they called that poaching, but I like to use the term direct sourcing. So those candidates that have a presence on LinkedIn are, more likely to be scooped up if we're looking for candidates with similar backgrounds. LinkedIn's a way for us to advertise and communicate with the labor market externally, so it's a good way for you to advertise your experience, knowledge, skills, education, credentials, those kinds of things. And it's an opportunity for you to market yourselves, what you have to offer for employers. So it's a good place to be if you're looking for a job. Yeah.
Question over to the right here.
Yeah, I'm just curious about co-op for IT positions. Do you typically have co-ops for IT support, that sort of thing?
Yes. We hire over 300 co-op students for the organization a year. And that's in January, May, and September. So we post all of our opportunities broadly at all the colleges and universities that we regularly work with, including Georgian, of course. So check out your career center and your job boards here.
Great. Okay, question in the back?
Yeah. What key things are you looking for on resumes to get applicants to do the testing phase of your process?
Can I throw that over to Cindy?
I mean, it depends on what positions are that we have. Obviously, we want to make sure that you meet the educational criteria. So if we're looking, specifically for technologists for the DST or the PSC positions, for example, then we want to make sure that you have your technologist diploma and that you have actually graduated from that as well. There have been circumstances where people have said they've graduated and actually have not. So make sure you do graduate and you apply to graduate as well and pay your fee to graduate. I'm learning all these new steps that go with that. We're also looking to make sure you include the courses that you've taken in school in terms of some of the power study courses, for example, for the electrical jobs, so we understand the practical theory that you've done and your research that you've done, what your technical reports have been about, so that we understand what knowledge you've come to and what kind of things you've been interested in. I think also including jobs that you've held, part-time jobs, because it shows that there's a commitment to a position and that you've had interests outside of school as well. You've had any volunteer opportunities. Those are also great to include. For some more of the physical jobs, for example, like the certified power cable person or the overhead job or even the DST, I'd be looking to know that you're demonstrating that you have the aptitude to work with tools, that you are physically fit in your life, just because those jobs are very physical. And so we're looking to demonstrate that you know the difference between a hammer and a screwdriver and a Swiss Army tool, I don't know, whatever that may be. So those are the things that we'd be looking for.
Anything else from the panel? No? Okay, we'll go back here and then over here.
So for applying for these positions, are you specifically looking for like some position for like first year, second, and third year? Because I know that if we like a first year would compete against the second year, of course second year would of course have a bit more experience than the first year. And so I don't know how the positions work for you guys. Are you looking for candidates for that position?
Are you talking about the student positions?
Yes.
The co-op? Okay, the co-op positions. I don't actually have with me the data, the percentage of students from each year, but I know that we hire in all years in all co-op terms, because I know we've had students, one sitting right up at the front here, that joined us for a number of sessions, so a number of co-op terms. So, I think there's an opportunity every year. Did that answer your question? We hire students for every co-op term, so I don't think there's an advantage. I think if you do your homework and you're prepared, and you show us what you have to bring to the table in terms of your experience and some of your behavioral competencies, then you have just as much of an opportunity as anyone else. Yeah. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Terrific. Yeah, I think generally that's true of co-op and the industries we serve. There's a great recognition that industry can't just hire third co-op terms or second co-op term. That it's spreading those opportunities across all years, so students get that exposure and opportunity. Good question. Okay, over here.
Yeah, this is a question more directed at the student. How well do you think the courses that you took in your first 3 semesters prepared you for the work that you actually did in the co-op work term?
That's a very good question, now. After 3 semesters, I think I had a pretty good handle on at least the basic functioning of a utility, how power gets from power generator to your house in general. What really benefited me though, my first co-op, I did with Hydro 1, and I was able to look and watch and observe. So when I went to Toronto Hydro here, I kind of had a basic understanding of, okay, this is what needs to go on, so then I could jump right into it more instead of asking all the questions. As far as the courses go, the ones that really stood out for me are AutoCAD, even though we used a program called MicroStation. It's very similar, but it gave me the background on a design program anyway, so I knew lines and corners and fillets and all the layers and everything else. And before I started the program, I knew nothing, so that was very, very helpful. And yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, for the most part. So basically the work that you did in your previous work term prepared you more for your next work term than the courses did?
They went hand in hand. They weren't exclusive of each other.
Thanks.
And I can also comment, I know from even from the full-time positions for some of the grads that we've hired, a lot of the labs that you're doing, a lot of the practical hands-on experience that you've had translates very well to some of the work tests that we do. Because we consistently hear the comment that, oh, we did this in our lab, oh, we did this in our lab. The equipment that we're working on is very similar to the equipment that we have in the field. So I think there's a great correlation to what you are being exposed to here at the college
and add one more thing, sorry. During my co-op too, I was able to work with another student. He went to Western, he was a civil engineer, and I think he was in his second year. So for him to come to Toronto Hydro and not really have any understanding of a distribution system whatsoever, he was able to acquire the knowledge in the short 4 months that we were there. By the end of the summer, he was very familiar with what was going on, and it's something that you learn while you're there, right? It's a hands-on thing you're thrown into the industry, and that's how you learn.
I think one other thing that's happening is that Georgian and Toronto Hydro have a partnership, and what we're trying to do is, Toronto Hydro at least, is influence the curriculum a little bit, such that some of the jobs that we're hiring into has that base level of curriculum knowledge. So we're trying to do that whether through labs or through some of the curriculum that's going on. That's one way we're trying to at least support the learnings that you have at school and applying those directly to Toronto.
Yeah, please.
I could just add one more thing, not to be the party pooper maybe about expectations here, but there's a real spectrum of work and complexity in the stations group, stations engineering group. There's student at the bottom of the pile, then there's junior technologists, senior technologists, and then engineers, and then supervisors and me, of course. But so the work that's I guess available to do, the less let's say interesting perhaps to some, and maybe more repetitive, tends to go with the student. Not getting coffee and that all the time, but certainly the CAD, I really. What you said about CAD, I think, is really true, because there's always drawing updates and things to do, and if you know some CAD, then it really helps. And I think this kind of goes back to the question at the top here, that if you're thinking you'd apply to one position or another based on where you are in terms of your education, we really look at the student's a student almost. If you have past Toronto Hydro or past Hydro 1 experience, that's more comes into play than what year you're in. Because what you can learn at Toronto Hydro, you won't apply a lot of your coursework immediately, probably, as a student. That's helpful.
And just to add to that as well, so as Mike alluded that there would be help influence the course curriculum, there's also subject matter experts from Toronto Hydro who actually sit on advisory committees that meet with the faculty at Georgian College a couple of times a year to look at that, and we look at the testing as well, and the kinds of questions that you guys get asked in your course tests. We look to see what that would look like, for example, from a recruitment perspective. We also send some of our employees to some of the courses that are taught at Georgian College, so that also helps to determine and cement, okay, is what the students that are learning in the college considered to be the same standard as to what we need to be teaching our employees. So we actually send our employees to some types of courses at Georgian College, and that actually also helps to advance the course curriculum.
Yeah, great comments. I see a few hands here. We'll go back here, and then we're going to come over to the sides. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just wondering, would you say that there's a wider variety of opportunity, either for advancement or just in general, for somebody who graduates from Georgian and then moves on to university to continue their education? Or would you recommend that approach?
So it's always good to have a degree or two. One opportunity that the students at Georgian College have is the actual resources that are available to them from Toronto Hydro, because we have a collaboration. But the recruitment process is a competitive process. Everybody has to go through that process in order to get selected into a particular position, whether it's for a student or a co-op position or a full-time employee position. I'm of the mind that, it's always good to continue your learning. As Jeff said, once you get your degree, it doesn't mean to say that you're going to stop learning. You're going to continue to look for opportunities to advance yourself. But, use the resources that you have through the faculty to gain an understanding as to what you need in order to advance yourself in the industry.
If I could just add to that, a lot of it depends on what you aspire to do in your career. If you want to be more closer to the work and the hands-on, then the higher level of education, if you wanted to do, I don't know, an engineering degree or maybe a business degree or something like that, after Georgian, you probably should think about aspiring to a different level of work in the organization that has less specific job assignments, more abstract work and problem solving. So a lot of it's going to be dependent on what kind of work you want to ultimately aspire to in your career as well. Not to say you can't start at one level and then as you grow and learn and you change your mind, but certainly would open more doors if you have more education.
Just adding to what Jeff said, I think it's important. I mean, that first job is always most important. I think as once you get that job and gain some experience, and one thing that Toronto Hydro offers is supporting your any education, not any education, but some education that you may want to take after you've been hired with Toronto Hydro. So there are benefit programs there that allow you to go to night school or take other courses to support additional learning that you may want. That first job may not be the job that you exactly want, and Toronto Hydro is large enough that there's opportunities from the gentleman over here asking about IT, through to finance, engineering, all of these various areas. So if that first job isn't your ideal job, there are many others that you can do, and through some of the programs that we have, you can increase your education, etc., to support movement throughout the organization.
Great. Okay, over to the side.
So, my question is is there any possibility of a co-op position in IT in research and development? It's like with a business perspective, for example, like developing a new system or something. Is there any possibility of co-op in there?
I'll try and address that. We have, I think, a very progressive culture at the company, and what we're seeking to do is apply technology and good business and process to solve things. And one area we're trying to do this is with innovation and look at specific technologies or changes to the way we do work, which are better. And some of those are software and automated work management. Some are just automation technology to restore outages faster. So at any point in time, we have a number of collaboration projects underway with various groups to do things better across the company. And they have near-term and mid-term and long-term sort of horizons. And so there is that opportunity within the company, and you'll sense from our answers that it's very much a team environment. So you might join this project group for a while and help solve that problem, then you'll have something else of different variety. But it is in place, and it's something we're working on actively.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So after finishing civil engineering technology, like a 3-year program, what are some entry-level positions at Toronto Hydro, and what can those lead to within Toronto Hydro?
So I think we are an electrical distribution company, so the majority of our posted positions are for electrical engineering positions. That's not to say that we don't ever hire civil technologists. So predominantly the pathway for that diploma would be our engineering technologist role in terms of applying your education to positions at Toronto Hydro.
Anyone else want to add to that?
Just let me add something to that.
Yeah.
Obviously part of electrical distribution, there's lots of civil infrastructures related to it, whether it's underground or cable chambers and those kinds of things. So there are some opportunities with respect to